Hello dear students, welcome back to organizational behavior classes. We are in chapter 3, learning. So in the last class we were discussing about one of the organizational behavior learning theory. Uh, Let us see how many theories we have completed. Okay, I think we have completed 3 theories. Which are those we have to rate. Okay. So I finished classical conditioning, operant conditioning, which are behavioral theories. And in the last class, we have finished cognitive learning theory. And today we are going to talk about social learning theory and or observational theory. Okay, so these two comes under the cognitive approach theories. These two are behavioral approach theories. Okay, so let us see what is a social learning or popularly known as observational learning theory. Okay. Uh, Here, before starting the explanation, I want to show you some pictures. Okay, two pictures. This is son and father duo. So, by looking at this, what you are analyzing, just keep it in your mind. Okay. So this is about son and father. Girls, don't get angry that man is English. I have one picture for you also. Let's see what it is. This is mother and daughter. Okay. By looking at this picture, what you are analyzing in your mind. Okay. Once more, we will see both the pictures: father and son, mother and a daughter. Okay. So what is happening here? You will understand. You might have interpreted in a different way. Might be. Let us see. After listening to today's class, I'll ask the same question, and you answer me what you have felt before the class and after the class. Let's begin with the theory. Okay, observational learning theory or social learning theory, which is developed by Dr.Pallavi. He is a major contributor in social learning theory. Okay, so what Dr.Pallavi has done is like he has conducted an experiment with a doll. Okay, I'll shortly explain the doll experiment in a few seconds. Okay, just too much for you for undergraduate student, but you have to understand the concept. So what the team of Albert Bandura did is they have placed a group of children in a room and they have played videos on the television. Okay, the videos on television, they have made two children groups. One children group in another room, other children group in another room. They were separating. They were sitting in a different rooms, and the different categories of these two children group were showing a different videos on the television. Okay, the videos are with the doll. Okay, say for example, the room one children, what they were watching on TV with the video, that the adults, okay, the adults with the doll. Okay, so the adults with the doll, they were very empathetic. They were behaving really good with the doll. They were not at all aggressive. Okay, they were pampering the doll. Okay, in the room two, the group of kids which were shown the video in the TV, that contains the adult with the doll was behaving very aggressively. He was beating it. Okay, so that he was not good with behaving well with the dog. So what happens? They kept these children individually. They left these children by picking one children from one group and another children from one group. They placed in a different room, and they have given the children both the children with the dolls. Okay, the first room child where the adult was behaving very nicely with the child, very empathetic with the doll. The child also repeated that behavior. Okay, that child also was very empathetic to the doll. It was pampering the doll. The other child in the second, which comes from the second room, where adult has shown aggressive behavior with the doll. What happens? the child also uh, repeat the behavior, like it also beats the child doll, and it irritates that doll, start fighting with doll. So how it happened, that why the room number 2 child behaved differently than the room number 1 child? So because room number 1 child has observed that adult has behaved very empathetically with the dog. Okay, so it repeated the same behavior when it was placed individually. The child was placed individually that with that dog. Okay, the second room child has seen the video of adult behaving aggressively, rashly with the dog. Okay, so they have so that child also repeated that behavior. It behaved very aggressively with that child, and that's why it has started beating or hitting that doll, irritating that doll. Hmm. So this makes us, by looking at this, makes us have to realize that uh, why this happened. This happened because of the observation. Okay, the different in the different room they have observed different things with the same object, with the doll. Okay, so this experiment is known as Bobo doll experiment, which is conducted by Bandura and his team. So Bobo doll experiment, which happened in 1961. So this is the concept. They wanted to prove that only with the cognition or with the behavioral thing, uh, those are not sufficient for learning. Okay, so the learning can happen also with by observing. Okay, by observation also learning can happen. Majorly, uh, this observation is learning happens in childhood. Okay, so the kids learn by observing, not by teaching. Okay, that's why parents are very should be very cautious before behaving in front of their children. So what Pandora suggested that, so apart from conditioning, apart from cognition, the people also learn by the observation, and that observation they imitate. Okay, they copy it. Imitation is they copy it and they display it in their behavior. Okay, so the replication of other behaviors. Okay, many of you see your father, you just behave like him. Many of you see your mother, you just behave like him, or your elder sisters, elder brothers, your elder siblings, you behave exactly like them. You learn, you observe them how they are behaving, then you imitate it, right? You copy that behavior. Now say this picture. Okay, so the son is learning okay, hygiene thing, that shaving from his father by observing. Okay, the girl is learning how to do makeup by observing her mother. She is doing exactly here. The son is doing exactly like her father, and the girl is doing exactly like her mother. So this is an example of observation theory. So people learn by observing. It should not be a conditioned one, or it should not be a necessarily a cognitive one. Okay, by mere observation also, the people observe it, then they copy it. Okay, so then the behavior happens. Okay, so observation theory process, you can say, or conditions, you can say. So what we do, we pay attention. Okay, so to learn anything, it is very important. That's why whenever in the class we are taking class, we say that pay attention, pay attention. So if something important comes, we say that it is very important, pay attention here, look towards the board, look at me. Why we say that? Because you should observe it. Okay, to make an observation, first thing is attention, which happens through your eyes, that will connect to your brain, right? So to learn anything, so paying attention is very important thing. Okay, so attention means just not by looking at it. Okay, you have to make sure that there is no distraction to your mind, and you're completely listening to or observing to looking at, and also you are understanding that thing. Okay, so that is first you have to pay the attention. Okay, by attention you observe that thing. Okay, what we do, you just paying attention, whatever you are seeing it, you have to remember it. Okay, whatever you have seen for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 5 hours, 10 days, whatever you are observing. So what we have to do, we have to retain that, we have to memorize it, right? You have to retain that in your mind. Okay, so you have to store it like how you store in your uh, mobile, laptop, or system. So you have to store in your brain, right? So first you pay attention to any particular thing, then you retain it, right? You store it. Okay, you save it. Okay, you memorize it. Okay, so this will differentiate it, memorizing this differentiate from, in children it is very easy to memorize things, and in adults it is difficult. So it depends on the age, health, and everything. Okay, so first we pay attention, then you memorize it and retain it. Then after memorizing it, retaining it, you have to reproduce it. Okay, so you have seen the mimicry artists, right? They follow their favorite stars and they just do voice like them, styles like them. Okay, in fact, we all imitate some or other personalities, famous personalities. Like it may be a film stars. Nowadays, the trend is happening. Social media influencers we call. Okay, by following them in various platforms like Facebook, Instagram, especially, some YouTubers, okay, and TikTokers. So what we do, we try to get influenced by those people, and we try to how they stand, how they walk, how they look, how they talk, okay, how they dress, especially what are their fashion trends. So we try to follow it. That's why many brands uses this influential personalities to promote their brand. Okay, so what we'll try to do, if Shah Rukh Khan is my favorite actor, whatever the brand he wears, I try to reproduce it. Just I wear that and I just want to look like him. I think that by wearing the same suit, I look like Shah Rukh Khan. So I'm reproducing it. Okay, just making some weird kind of poses like Shah Rukh Khan. I think that I'm Shah Rukh Khan. Okay, I'm a biggest. Okay. So when the KGF movie released, you might relate to yourself. Many people started growing beards. When Virat Kohli started growing beards, many boys started growing beards, and then the entire Indian cricket team started growing beards. So this is a replication. What we are doing, we are reproducing by getting influenced by other personality. Okay, so what happens, why we do it, whenever we reproduce, how many times we reproduce that thing, we try to we try to hold it for longer time. Okay, so that will remain in your memory, like how you used to memorize your two ones are two. Okay, so you learned it, you just recite every day in the morning in your school days, so that that will remain till today. If I in the midnight also, if I wake up and ask you to tell me nine answer, so people will say that nine answer completely. Okay, why it has happened? Because they have replicated and reproduced and they have practiced it. Okay, so that has stayed for the longer time. Then the motivation, okay, very important. Okay, so so that's reproduction. To keep it alive, we have to keep it practicing. Okay, it's not like we are shifting from that practice. Okay, so you have to have that willpower to carry out that learning for further longer time. Okay, if you don't do it, if you don't keep the motivation level high, then eventually you will forget it. Okay, so many of them, you might be, till your schoolings you might remember the tables. Since you're not practicing it now, you might have forgot it, right? So this is about the observation theory. Okay, so it just says, it is a simple theory. It says that people will learn from the observation. Okay, whether it should not be a cognitive one or a conditioned one. People can simply learn by observing things, which happens in every family, in our family, schools, surroundings, environment. Okay, our social group. That's why it is also called as social learning. Okay, so that's what this theory says about. Like we by observing also we learn. I hope you understood this observation learning theory. Thank you for listening to me. Good. So after seeing this observational theory, let us move forward to social cognitive theory. In short term, we call it as SCT, social cognitive theory, which is almost similar to observational theory. Okay. So in observation theory, we said that any individual can learn uh, by observing his environment, by observing any situation. Right? That was proposed by Albert Bandura. The social cognitive theory is also proposed by Albert Bandura. So what he says, we live in a society, right? So we live with our family, we live with our community, we live with our friends, peer group, colleagues. Every day we encounter these people, right? So doesn't you think that you have learned from your family, learned from your community, okay, or learned from the environment where you're working, from your friends, from your teachers, right? So I've learned from it. So the same thing is explained in the social cognitive theory. So what social cognitive theory believes that people learn by observing others. The exact thing what uh, observation theory has explained, right? So going forward, this social cognitive theory says that the people will acquire knowledge by observing others, okay, but within the context of social interaction and experiences. Okay, I can learn, say for example, I can learn by interacting with the people who I know, right, in my environment, okay, who are all come, like my family, my friends, my colleagues, my students, okay, uh, maybe some, the TV personalities, movie personalities, social media influencers. So these all are the my routine daily people I come in contact with, right? So by observing them, I learn. Okay, by observing them and their experience. Okay, so what the theory says that people will analyze that by observing someone else's behavior and the consequences of someone else's behavior. Okay, let me get straight here. I'll give an example. Okay, say you have a sibling, elder brother. Okay? So what happens one day there is a 10 rupee note on the table. What your brother did is pick the 10 rupee note and he went and bought ice cream and ate it. Okay. So later on, your parents get to know that the 10 rupee note was taken from the table without their knowledge and without their consent, so their permission, right? So what your parents will do? Some parents will make him understand, or some parents will. Indian parents, right? Indian parents will slap. Okay, generally. Okay, I'm not categorizing anybody. Generally, this happens by looking at this. You're all observing it, or your parents how they have reacting to your brother taking 10 rupee note without their consent. After some days, if the 10 rupee note was kept on the table, will you pick it? No, right? Because you have seen that the consequences of that behavior your brother has showcased, and how your parents has reacted to it, right? So you think that I may also get the punishment from my parents. That's why you don't repeat it. Okay. Similarly, if your brother has got or your elder sister has got a good marks in the examination, if your parent has gifted a bicycle, so you'll also get, because of this consequence, you feel that if I also get the good marks in my examination, next year I may also get the bicycle like how my elder brother or sister has got. Okay, so by observing the others' behavior and the result of that behavior, which is called as consequences, so that you take as a guidance for your behavior. Okay, you have learned from these two incidents, right? One incident, getting punishment because of picking up the money without consent. The other incident where scoring a good marks and getting a reward for the good marks as a bicycle, right? So what you have done, you have observed it, you have analyzed the consequences for the both the behavior, and you learned by observing that. Okay, by the your elder brother or elder sister's experience, you have learned about it, right? So accordingly, you behave. Correct. So this is all about how the social cognitive theory learn about. It is about observation. It is about experience of other people behavior and their consequences. Okay, so by observing other people's behavior and the consequences of that behavior, you will learn. Okay, so who are the people who are going to contribute to a social cognitive theory? First comes your family, your relatives, your community, okay, your college, if you're working, if your colleagues, your peer group, uh, if you are in any kind of other activities, that community group, your religious group, if you're a religious person. So these are the people who can influence you, or any famous personality or who can influence your behavior. Okay, so so it is a more about psychological factor. Uh, so first, what happens? Cognitive learning theory, what it says, it says that your brain, it is about your mind. So your mind will interpret, analyze, think, process the information, then the learning happens. In behavioral theory, like classical conditioning and operant conditioning, it's about response and stimulus, or behavior and consequences, right? So what Bandura did is, Albert Bandura did is, he has integrated both. Okay, so integrated both. You can see in the example, you have seen your elder brother sister's behavior and its consequences, right? So also you are processing, right? By observing that behavior, you're processing, you're thinking that if I repeat this behavior, I may also have the same consequences. So you're categorizing in do and don'ts, right? So you're processing, your mind is processing. So what he has done, he has combined the cognitive theory and the behavior theory, and he had come up with the social cognitive theory. Okay, so in social cognitive theory, you can uh, see three things. Okay, one is person, second is environment, third is behavior. Okay, these three elements will contribute in learn. Okay, yes, Albert Bandura's theory. So behavior, environment, and personal. So your personal thing, your level of knowledge, your experience, your expectation, your attitude, your personality, your perception level. So all those things. Okay, environmental, like your social norm, community access, uh, your influence of others on you, your influence on others. So these all also contribute to learning. Okay, behavior, like your skills, practice, and efficiency. Okay, so three dynamic factors, what we call as same thing: person, behavior, personal, behavioral, environmental. So those contribute to a social learning theory. Okay, so uh, these agents like person, environment, and behavior act as an agents to influence you by the environment. Okay, so human behavior is made of these three dynamic. Okay, so what we call as reciprocal model. This is called as reciprocal model. Okay, so this reciprocal model says that personal factors, environmental influences, and behavior, these three will be interacting with each other. Okay, so like this, personal factor, behavior factor, and environmental reciprocal model. These three will be interacting with each other continuously. They don't stop. Okay, so environmental factor will interact with personal factor with behavior, behavior with environment, environment with behavior, environment personal, personal with behavior. Like this reciprocal, they'll be continually reacting. Okay, so this interaction will make you a learning process happens. Okay, when these three are continually reacting and reciprocating to each other, then the learning will happen. Okay, this the about your uh, social learning theory. So what is the basic thing social learning social cognitive theory is depend upon? That people not only learn through their own experience, but also by observing the actions of others and the result of the actions of others. Okay, so however people do not simply copy the people's behavior, rather by observe their actions and then mentally process it both. Okay, the mentally processing is a cognitive theory, and to determine the how and if they will imitate those actions. Okay, so this is about social cognitive theory. So students, today we have finished all the theories, okay, of the in the learning chapter, which there for your syllabus. Okay, we have finished classical conditioning, operant conditioning, cognitive learning theory, social learning theory, or observational theory, also social cognitive theory we have finished. Okay, I hope you have understood this presentation. Thank you for listening to me. Have a good day.